minutes. As 40 MRD 402, MRD 402, alternative day, I will take the class. As 403, I'm getting free from 403A course. So I hope that almost Sanjeev sir has given you the introduction of the project management project. What are the keywords, key concepts of the project management and project planning and evaluation as well. So I have prepared from the unit 1, the project management cycle, and what are the prerequisite of a project planning for its project evaluation as well as project implementation. So I'll share the screen, and please let me know, any one of you, when it is visible. Visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll start with the project management cycle. See, like what we have discussed in the last semester about in the research methods paper, you know, like it's an extension of what we have discussed in the research methodology, the steps we followed in the research methodology, and project is just a one part of research. So when we talk about the research and particularly the project management and rural project management, we expect that the project is being done through a research through research, and which is being systematic and scientifically it should be conducted. So when project management cycle, we first define a project. The project is something where, you know, like a uniqueness, a newness, or an idea should be generated, and that idea should be like a one of a kind, in such a way that it creates the knowledge, it creates something, some information to the knowledge world. So the project is something which is a bridge what is the present situation and the project, how your project is taking or will take a change, in a positive change, a positive development of the particular situation of what ought to be. So that stage of what is and what ought to be is being done or is being passed through a stage which we call as a project. So the Project Management Institute of USA, they have defined the project as a combination of human and non-human resources. By non-human, we mean the natural resources as well as whatever the resources which will be man-made, which can be pulled together in a temporary organization to achieve a specific purpose. And you know, like the project is something where you have to use the optimum. Okay, I'm not saying about the maximum and not the minimum. This is something which is optimum, which can be used as part the the significant way, and so that we can create or keep that one in store for the future generation as well. So it is about how we are combining. The project is a combination of how we are managing both the human and the resources as well as the non-human resources or the natural resources, you can say. And we can come bring both of them together in a situation which is of course a temporary, because project, I have told you that in the last class, that project is something which we define and which has got a timeline. It can be 6 months, it can be 1 year, it can be 2 years, depending on the on the project manager, depending on the researcher who is writing the project, but it should have a timeline. Otherwise, the project, if you don't give a timeline, it is becoming a program. So entire project, the concept of project is a temporary, but that temporary, like the phase, through the temporary phase, we are going to achieve the specific purpose, the objective. The objective of the project should be attained by bringing the combination of the human and the natural resources, and we can combine both of them together so that we can achieve the objective of our project. Fine. Now, what is a project management? I will go for the full slide. So project management is a system of the procedures, is a system how the practice is being done, how the technologies, and how we are going to use that technologies. Technologies are there, and number of technologies are there, but how we are going to use that technology and which particular technology is going to give us a solution. The know-how as well, which enables the planning, the organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. This is something called POSCOP. POSCOP. Planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling the necessary to successfully manage the particular project. We will give the details of what planning stands for, organizing, staffing, and all these things stands for. But every strategy, including starting from the planning to the controlling to the implementation, as well as executing, evaluating, all of the strategies. These are strategies which has got their own individual, like the importance and the significance. And being a project manager, being the researcher, how we are going to manage the project, we have to, deal with that deal with each strategy technically. So the challenge of the main challenge of the project management is, that to achieve the project goals and objectives while we learning the pre-concept constraints. So, the phase of the while writing the project, you have to find out that what are the goals, the objectives, and for each and every goals and objectives, what are the strategies you are going to use so that you can the target, the possible way, as well as the solution. You can work through these three concepts. And where always, like a project, in the project management or in any project, two typical constraints are there: time and budget. Okay, so apart from this, a project management is the overall system of the entire procedures, how you are going as a researcher or the project, being a project manager, how you are going to administer the entire project in the name of planning, in the name of organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. Fine, this part? Okay, so now we will be going for the, what is the role of the manager? A project manager, what we call as, like the one who is the overall authority of supervising, or he or she is the concerned person, or the person who is in charge of the entire project. So is responsible for supervising the systems project from initiation to conclusion. Now, what are the typical characteristics of a project? While what we expect, while if I ask, because I told you that at the end of this semester you have to write a mini project, all of you have to write a mini project and submit to us, so that your this paper will be evaluated fully, and it can be evaluated fully. So the project characteristics, we expect that your project should have an objective, and the objective will be SMART in nature. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So these 5 salient features should be there in your objectives. Each and every objective should tell that whether your objective is specific or not, whether it is measurable or not, it is attainable or not, it is realistic or not, or it is time bound or not. So each objective, I'm not saying that like you should go for a n number of objectives, 6, 7 objective is not required. Go for 2 objective, 3 objective, but like make sure that all the objectives are attained in your project report. Then project is, as I told you in the definition, is something which is known as for the newness, the uniqueness, or one of a kind. So that innovation, that uniqueness in the project we expect, and it's one of the major criteria that your project to be approved, that it should have an uniqueness, it should have the like the unique selling point, that why your project is different from the other projects in the market, and why you say that, why you can claim, how you can claim that your project is the best of all the projects. So you have to convince that one, and that convincing will be done if you have a uniqueness in your project. Attainment of specific goals. So like how you are going to, the small goals, it is you who is going to write that small goals, and it is you who is going to give the strategy how you are going to achieve that specific goals. Fine. Specified time. So you have to have a say that whether your project is 1 year, 2 years, 6 months, 3 months, but it should have a specific time, that how much time is required to finish all these works, and like that time, within the time frame it should be finished, it should be completed. And the interrelated activities, like these days we are talking much about the interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and a project cannot be, it should not have a one dimension. It should have a holistic approach, so that like when we talk about the only the laboratory innovations, laboratory project, like until and unless that laboratory invention is not going to the land, and it is helping the people or the community, like you cannot say that your project has attained, or your project is being is a good project. So there is no point that your project is project is not to be there to keep in the laboratory. It should go to the land, so lab to land. And that is how, when you have to go for a interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and it should be interrelated of the activities. It should not have only an economic theory, it should have not to be a sociological approach, but a connection of all the activities, all the things. Then life cycle. So in the life cycles, what we say that like the entire, if your example, for instance, your project is of 1 year, like what the periods, the 1 month, what you will be doing, the second month what you will be doing, third month what you will be doing. So each and every phase of the entire cycle of your project should be well defined, that this is the life cycle we will be doing for the project for the 1 year, and that will create the impact for the next 15 years. So that is how you are going to, you have to have a like a life cycle which you have to mention in your project. And the sequencing of the activities, from the planning, organizing, how you are controlling the staffs, how you are directing the staffs, what are the strategies you have taken in your planning part, what are the strategies you have taken while executing part. So the sequence, how and when, which activities you will be following, you have to mention that one in the project too. So these are the characteristics or the salient features of a project which has an objective, which have to have an uniqueness, attainment of specific goals, specified time, activities, a holistic approach, life cycle, and sequences of activities as well. Fine. Fine. So
Yes, ma'am.
moving to
Yes,
next,
ma'am.
what are the parameters? Now you will be no like the project will be submitted, but what are the ways? What are the like the factors, or what are the ways how we can judge the project is of worthy in nature or not? So these are the 5 parameters which has been put to find out like scope, quality, time, cost, and resources. So these are the parameters which will define that the first about the scope. So if your project is very narrow, or and this it is very vague in nature, I'm telling you, no one is going to give the approval for your project. It should have a wide scope. Wide scope. Maybe you are working for for maybe in a very small with a very small community. That doesn't matter, but the scope, it should highlight the higher prospect. The broad prospect should be highlighted. So you should be very particular the scope, where till how much you can drag your project. The quality of the project, the quality of the project is being judged by like how you are going to make your project a different from the rest of the project, so that your project will will get the at most advantageous position. The time, the time, how much time frame you are giving, and how well you are maintaining, or how strategically you are maintaining that. Managing the time is again a thing to be taken note of while writing a project. The cost, the budget, whether the cost and the budget is worth enough to like to give, or to approve, depending on the project, depending on the scope. So the scope of the project, if it is a broad scope, of course like the budget will be, the budget you can claim more. But if you are working in a very small very narrow like a scope, you cannot claim that it will be a project of a high values. Then the resources, how well you can manage, how optimally you are going to manage the human resources in your project, and as well as the non-human resources. So both the resources should be well utilized. Even the technological also, you can use the resources. So like these are the 5 parameters which can say how your project will be of the quality, a good quality, average quality, or a bad quality. Fine. So moving to the next, what are the functions of the project management? Scoping, planning, estimating, scheduling, organizing, directing, controlling, and closing. So starting with the first one, which says about the scoping. Well, when in the last slide I said about the project parameters. So first one says about the scope. So scope is setting the boundaries of the project. So like I told you already, that it should not make the project a very narrow in nature. Make the boundaries, make the extent of the project, like to a certain limit where you can get a wide range of the scope of your project. Planning. So first scoping is being done, then the planning. In the planning part, you have to identify the activities, the work which is required to complete the project. The project will be completed, but actually what are the works to be done? What are the strategies, the tasks which is required to complete the project? Estimating. In this part, you have to identify the resources. What are the resources which is required to complete the project? And that in time. Scheduling. Here you have to develop a plan, a concrete plan, how you are going to complete the project. So that plan is required. If you have to develop the plan, and that all the plan, the identifying the resources, identifying the tasks, everything you have to maintain that sequences. I told you this, the sequencing of the activity is very important in the project management. Organizing. In this one, we expect that how you are being a project manager, how you are making the members understand and giving their roles and responsibilities, as well as with an accountability. Here accountability is very important. Like only giving the roles and responsibilities but without accountability, like you cannot have a trace of the roles and responsibilities. So you have to, being a project manager, you are assigning the roles, you are assigning the responsibilities, but that roles and responsibilities should be well executed, and they are accountable to you as a project manager, where they have to have a report, they have to give a report to the project manager as well. Directing, here you are expected to that you are the one who will be coordinating the project, coordinating of the organizations you are working for, coordinating with the funding agencies which is giving fund for your project, coordinating with the human resources which you have deployed for your project, and coordinating with the target group, with the community for whom you are doing the project. So being a project manager, you are expected to direct where you are, sorry, where you are, no, like you have to coordinate the entire project by keeping a relation with the funding, with the organization, with the human resources working for your project, as well as the target group. Controlling, here you are expected that you will be monitoring the progress. So that is where, like sometimes the work goes on and on. So if there is a lack of monitoring of the project, sometimes when like people doesn't know where to give a pause. So if there is no controlling by the project manager, and lack of monitoring will lead to nowhere in the project. So constant monitoring, constant and regular monitoring of the progress of the work is mandatory in the project management cycle. And if you don't declare that your project is the closing, or this is the completion of the project now, or 2021 October we have closed down the project, it doesn't mean that, it means that your project is a never ending project, which is violating the very concept of project. So when you have defined the time, you have to define at the end of the project that now this is the end of the project, where you have to assess whether your project is a successful one or it is a failed one. So in the functions, you have to pronounce, in the project management, you have to pronounce very neatly what is the scope, what is the planning, what you have done in the identifying of the tasks. You are identifying what you have, identifying the resources, what is the plan you have developed, and how you are making the members understand their roles and responsibilities, and how you are coordinating the project, controlling the project, as well as how you are assessing the project. So all these things should be pronounced neatly in your project management. And being the project manager, you have to have a clear cut knowledge that this is how my project is going on. So whether it is a success or a failure, the last part is you are supposed to assess. So the success of a project depends on two things. If your entire project is delivered on time, is complete on time, and entire project is delivered within the budget. So these are the two measurable things of making the project successful and a failure. Fine. It should be delivered on time. See, no one is controlling. When you are writing the project, no one is asking that what should be the time. Give 1 year or 2 year like this. You take your own time, but it should be delivered on time. While writing the budget, what I might be is you can go for micro plan or micro project or mini project. That's it. If you are asking going for like the huge budget project, you can apply for whatever money amount you can ask for, but that should be delivered within the budget. Fine. This much is clear in the project.
Yes, ma'am.
Tamchi Loleno.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
fine. So shall I move to the next? How to say is a failure one. So it's just the opposite when you are failed to establish the connection between with the upper management, or you are we cannot establish the connection or the coordination between with your team members. If you have a lack, if you are lacking in the organizational commitment where in which organization you are working for, and of course taking the shortcuts, what are the methodologies you have discussed, but you are taking the shortcuts in actually in doing so, and the poor project management, and that is how you are going to assess that your project is a failed one. Okay, so I hope that like this slide should not be taken seriously. So you like give emphasis on the measures of project success, not a failure one. Gayatri, I think we have time constant. Na? Some box came, one box popped up here. 40 minutes, right?
No, I think in my laptop it's 45 minutes.
45 minutes, no? Okay.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
fine.
ma'am.
So then project life cycle, startup, planning, execution. This is the life cycle. Startup, how much time you will take for a 1 year project, how much time you are taking for the planning, and how much time you are taking for the execution part. Execution stands for the implementation. How, like what are the, how much time you will be taking for the execution. So first startup, where you are, like you get sort of ideas, the observations which can give you which sometimes can be triggered point for you, that this lies the problem, there lies the problem, and I can work through a project, I can apply, and if I can be funded from some organizations, I can go for a project and will bring a positive growth in this within this particular community. So startup, and these days there are so much programs, so much fellowships are coming for the startup. This startup is now a very common one. So you can start up anything right at the moment, but a project doesn't end with startup only. You have to go for the next phase. So the journey from the startup and planning, it takes a huge time. Although in the slide it is not like startup planning execution, but in reality the startup is something where you are developing the ideas, where the project can be, what are the areas where the project can be worked on, what are the targeted areas where the project can be done. And the planning is something where you have, okay fine, these are something, so how I am going to achieve the issues, the challenges which I have been observed. And the planning also, from the planning is easy, the planning can be done, is the blueprint of action. If you ask me what is plan, this is something which you are written down in pen and paper, what will be your action. So it's a blueprint of the action. So planning is also to some extent it's easier to done, but what is heard is the third phase, the third cycle, the execution. So the execution is where you are going to meet with the community, as because I am talking about from the rural perspective. So the rural project always asks for the how much you are going, and like the mixing up with the communities, as well as how you are going to implement your project. The project which you have started up 3 months back, which you have planned 2 months back, and now you are on the implementation phase. Here you can face all the questions, all the WH questions you can face in the execution part. And the project life cycle. Conception, definition, planning, and implementation. So what we have been, like the startup, the planning, the execution, this is the, like if I zoom in, you can get in the startup is the conception and definition, the planning is the planning part, execution is the implementation part. So in the startup, we have conception and definition. Significance of the project life cycle, it defines time, work, result, and end sign. These 4 phases. So the first, it defines about the time. What are the phases of the project? Startup, how much time you are going to take? Planning, how much time it will take? Execution, how much time it will take? Evaluation, how much time it will take? And the evaluation, how much time it will take. So these are the phases of the project. It signifies or it defines the work performed in each phase. Once you have given the phases, and under the conception, what are the works you are going to perform? Under the phase of definition, what are the works you are going to perform? Under the phase of planning, what are the works you are going to perform? Under this implementation, what are the works you are going to perform in each phase of the work? So you have to define, it defines that as well. It defines the input and the output of each phase, which we call it as a result. So each and every work of each and every phases in the project asking for a result. What is the input you are giving and what is the output? So, like immediate effect. We in the project will not, wait till that last part. That okay. So going on and on after 2 years, we will ask what is there? No, yes, something. But in the project, each and every phase of each and every work will be defined, will be evaluated, and the milestone of each phase, which we known as the end sign. So you have to define that, like if I work this in the phase 1, that means we are going to get that achievement is this. So you have to, the phase, the work, the result, and the achievement. So 4 things you have to put together in the project life cycle: time, work, result, and end signs. So in the conception phase, where the project idea is find genesis and germinates out of the something that need to solve a problem, the observance of one's environment, and the drive to innovate something new. So anything from anything you can start build up a conception, a concept of your project. You have a, like you have seen a challenge or you have seen a problem, and you are, you are going to find a solution of the particular problem. That also a project can be designed. You are observing that the environment or the surrounding which you are living is something which can be developed. Then also a project can be developed. And your desire, your drive to innovate something new. So these 3 can lead to a project. And you will find the similarity between this of the project and the research, if I am not wrong, and if you remember. So the definition phase of the project, it involves the developing of the idea which generated during the conception phase. But in this definition, you have to document. The documentation part is very important when you are writing the definition. In research, we find this one in the literature review, where we are documenting all the literature which we read. And in that project, you have to document, describing the sufficient detail and how you are covering all the aspects. Aspects means the time, the work, the result, and the end signs. These four you have to deal with, and it is the phase where you are clearing the ambiguities, the uncertainties about the about what if it is there in the conception phase. So in the definition phase, you are clearing the all the clouds that stands for the, these are the ambiguities, these were the the doubts, the dilemmas which might be there in the conception phase. But in the definition phase, when you are documenting, you have to clear everything, all the ambiguities and the uncertainties. Here the planning phase starts, which almost immediately after the conception phase, and it overlaps with the both definition and implementation phase. Sometimes I'm telling you, sometimes this is where it's very easy to start up, but planning, when you are actually writing down the action, the strategy, the blueprint of the action, it takes a bit, some things, sometimes it brings, you find out that it contradicts with some issues with the with your concept, with your definition, and then that with the reality. This phase also involves the preparation for the project to take off smoothly, and as far as possible, whatever the effects or the decisions and related on the with the project can be cleared off, and in the planning phase. And this phase is the where it is involved the core planning and the facilitating plan. The core planning is something where you are giving the actual idea. Okay, fine. The core planning is something which is where you are going to pronounce that what you are going to get through that project. And the facilitating planning is that what are the activities, what are the things which are going to make a trigger of the strategy, of your objective, of the objective which you have defined in the core planning. What are the the triggering point which is making that goal or that objectives work on. So in the planning phase, you have to make all this clear. In the core planning, we have the scope definition, the activity definition, activity duration of the estimating, schedule development, and the resource planning. Okay, I'll do one thing. I will just and till here, and will ask if you have any doubt till planning phase, because if I go slowly it will start. But if you have any problem till planning phase, please ask me, because if I start on the core planning, I cannot finish within that time. Almost 4 minutes left. So I'm just asking you all, if you have, I'll just share your any questions till planning phase, starting from project manager, project management, project manager, project characteristics, project parameters, functions of the project management, how to measure your project as successful and the failure, project life cycle, significance of the project life cycle, the conception phase, definition phase, as well as the planning phase. Over. If any questions or any doubt, please do ask. I'll share the slide, no problem on that. Is it fine? Yes, no.
Yes,